So what exactly bothers me about the modern world that we live in? Well, I'll try to make it as simple and slow as possible, but there's so many things, so I'll just a couple of thoughts that I was just having. Basically, we live in a world where less than probably a significantly smaller portion of the population than 1% controls 99% of the wealth. And the most wealthy tend to be the most wicked. Even when you look among the middle class, most of them are working at a lower level, lower rung of the same pyramid scheme that our country is. The whole our country and basically the whole world is kind of set up like a fucking pyramid scheme. But it's basically the whole world. And at the top of the pyramid, just like on the dollar bill, you have the Eye of Sauron, or Lucifer, or whatever the hell you want to say it is. Right? The wicked fucking king of the orcs or whatever, looking upon us. And then beneath them, you've got all, basically your super high level, controllers of the money. You got the people that control the money and the media and that own and run all the corporations and, various, of course, rank and file systems. Of course, you got royalty, people forget about the royalty, but royal families are just all of them. You got them, and you got the freaking, secret societies and the fucking big time, just, the money, power, elite people up there kind of toward the top of the pyramid, but not necessarily as the Eye of Sauron, but, the higher level controllers of the Eye of Sauron, and then rank and file system going down the pyramid to the lowest level, and then pretty much at the lowest level of the pyramid is just anybody who doesn't work for the government or in a high position of some major corporation, which is kind of a majority of people. You see the pyramid gets wider as it goes down, but lower levels of the pyramid is most people can't afford anything yet. The most wicked people in the world are touted as, celebrities and heroes, basically. They have all the wealth, they live in castles or mansions, own millions of acres of fucking land, or, hectares or whatever. Fly around the world in private jets with a swimming pool or hot tubs on board, and from one mansion to another, jet set around the world, and when they die, they'll have great monuments and statues and impressive mausoleums or headstones to display them as some great, like some, Egyptian pharaoh or something, basically. Remembered for thousands of years. Historians find them, this must have been a truly great man, or whatever, right? And the poor, the truly poor, many of which are some of the best people alive, can't even afford to have their bones laid in the earth. They would struggle to even afford to be burnt to ashes. And now this part may upset a lot of people, but it's just I've seen things Now, I guess there are some exceptions to this, but as far as spiritual beliefs go and whatever, but I talk about basically cremation here. I don't know. Some of this is just stuff that I've seen on TV shows and stuff, but I also think that, like, I mean, an archaeologist. Well, think back in history, like, I get that there are instances where, kings and the Vikings and stuff like that were put on, ships and with a bunch of, gold and the woman and everything and all this stuff surrounding them. Some big ceremony where they were lit on fire and sunk to the bottom of the sea, and other men, or great men, sewn up in bags and dropped into the ocean and so on and so forth. And some cultures float people down a river, and I get that there's different beliefs in different cultures, but in some systems it's like, I mean, I don't know, I probably shouldn't be talking about TV shows, but I'm just trying to bring them up as like a reference point or whatever. Like, if you look at the show Supernatural, for instance, right, which actually has a lot of pretty accurate in terms of lore and, mythology and stuff. When they want to destroy a spirit, a ghost or whatever, they salt and burn the bones. They get rid of the body, any biological material left behind, I saw an episode of Yellowstone once where there's these, scumbags that were trying to hurt a girl and they got killed in the, they'd kidnapped some girl or something and they got killed, good, right? But the point was that when they were getting rid of the bodies and stuff, that, the father of the girl helped to put him in a hole, and they were going to burn him. And the guy that killed the scumbags, he says, here, you want to do it? And the father says, no, you killed the body, now kill the spirit. Alright? If you look at, like, Christianity and stuff, you talk about, I suppose other religions have these sort of beliefs. In Christianity, it talks about, the dead in Christ being raised from the grave or something to eternal life. There's talk of Lazarus being raised from the dead, of Jesus rising from the grave after 3 days, having, so on and so forth, right? Well, if that was a thing, how exactly do you raise someone who has no body at all, that's just been completely burned to ashes? Just saying, if that was the case, right? And even if none of that spiritual shit had any relevancy whatsoever, I don't know. Let's say 100 years from now, 200 years from now, society collapsed and there's like archaeologists, whatever, digging up trying to, grave robbers, archaeologists, whatever, people that, whatever you want to call them, right? You've become a part of history. Would you rather be a part of history that can be found, or be erased from existence forever and turned to ashes? Right? I don't like the idea of that. I really am not a fan of the idea of cremation. I find it disturbing. I really try not to think about it, you know. It'd be one, especially the way it's done now. It's so fucking clinical and non-ceremonial, you know. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was like ceremonial. You like go up on a freaking hill and with your loved one wrapped in the finest robes and have a funeral pyre, and you all sit around and have some kind of ceremonial, you know, party around them or something, and it's like a sending them to God or something, or you're putting them on a freaking, you know, Viking long ship or something and firing flaming arrows out, you know, that'd be one thing. But to just have somebody like put into a fucking furnace like the same one that thousands or other people have been put into or whatever just seems screwed up. Totally cold and clinical and I don't like to think about that sort of thing having I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I'm necessarily for something like, you know, freezing or mummification or something like that. Or digging up your relatives to set their body at the table for dinner every year or something like they do in some countries. But I think that just burning them to ashes and scattering them to the wind is kind of seems cold, and I mean that's just been a personal opinion, I guess, just a personal how I feel about it. However offensive it may seem or whatever, it's just bothers me. If we can't leave anything else behind in this world of any fucking worth, at least let me leave some fucking bones in the dirt, right? I don't know. Pretty grim subject to bring up. I don't want to bring. Oh, it's just because I've, you know, that whole thing just started from the analogy I made about how like the wealthy are like mummified or, you know, frozen and preserved in some way. Like, dude, you can still go. Okay, so the fucking goddamn recording got cut off again. So where was I? I was saying you can still go see Joseph Stalin perfectly, preserved as though he just died yesterday. While the ashes of the poor are scattered to the wind, right? Rich people are held up in mausoleums and mummified and entombed and frozen like Walt Disney and so on and so forth, right? Encapsulated and perfectly, as preserved as they can be, and presented in a manner where if they were found hundreds of years in the future by archaeologists, it would, there would still be something of them left recorded in the world, and the rest of the poor people, for the most part, are just can't even afford to have their bones laid in the dirt now. That was my point. I think that's screwed up, and God, what the hell else was I getting at? The world is rigged. It's rigged against. It's rigged against the majority of people, against the poor. It's rigged to screw us over. It's especially with the financial system, is what I was starting to get at. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Has it not occurred to anyone that the creation of the Federal Reserve banking system, that the acceptance of a fiat currency, of, money printed out of thin air, coincides with the beginning of the First World War, and all the wars since then would have been inconceivable and impossible, if they'd actually had to fund them with gold. They couldn't have funded wars like that with the nation's supplies of gold and silver and diamonds, rubies, emeralds, so on and so forth. The real treasuries. You think they're gonna let go of the real treasure to fund wars to that extent? Hell no, they're gonna give the peasants pieces of paper in exchange for your blood, and then burn you to ashes and scatter you to the wind to be forgotten forever, basically. And that's what's been happening for over 100 fucking years, and it's about time that stops, is what I was getting at. It's bullshit. This world is rigged against us. It's rigged for the victory of evil over good. It's rigged in such a way where to work for evil rulers or an evil system is gives people a sort of a reward, and trying to live free or do good in this world is punished and leaves you destitute. Alright then. Enough ranting, see if it stuck the damn things together. Had to restart the damn recording, probably screwed it up now. Tried to fucking add on where I left off.